think once in 2 years program that Chamber of Tax Consultants and Bombay Chartered Accountants Society, both of us jointly organize for the benefit of those who are involved in compliance of charitable organizations. I understand the timing at this point of time is a bit tricky, so a lot of participants who have enrolled but still have not made it, but we need to start in time following our tradition. Friends, the NGO sector in India is very vital. India's development needs cannot be fulfilled by the government or private sector alone. And India has a rich heritage. Even in the Rig Vedas, there is a mention of volunteerism. We had in good old days, the Vanaprasthashram essentially meant that working for the society selflessly. So with this kind of rich heritage, today we have a situation. I believe that last year there were some statistics presented to the Supreme Court. The CBI presented, which said that there are over 20 lakh NGOs, one possibly for every 600 Indian or something like that, was presented before the court. Also, what has happened is over the years, there has been certain challenges in various laws pertaining to charitable organizations. This being also administered by state, as well as there are federal laws which are applicable. The situation has become a bit complex, and specifically with respect to the income tax, there has been this amendment that has crept in last few years, which has redefined the term charitable purpose, and that has been causing a lot of pain and agony to the charitable organizations. Let me share with you, friends, just about 2 weeks back, Chairman of Taxation Committee of Bombay Chartered Accountants Society, Shri Kishore Bhai Karia, and I, both of us, went to Delhi to meet with the Revenue Secretary, Mr. Shaktikanta Das, to actually explain in person our pre-budget memorandum. And one of the important points that was discussed, and we were very pleasantly surprised that Mr. Shaktikanta Das not only was interested in knowing the nitty-gritties of the issues pertaining to charitable organization, but he in fact took out a copy of the Income Tax Act, looked at section 215, the specific proviso and the specific words that are causing problem. So friends, we've done our best, and we hope to see some positive amendments helping the charitable organization in this budget. With these few words, let me just one more. Today I believe that a lot of participants may not be members of Bombay Chartered Accountants Society, so let me suggest that please follow us on any of the social media where we are actively present, be it Facebook, Twitter or LinkedIn, where we post various activities that we continuously do. The society also has a journal, and we have e-journal, so all last 12 years of journal are now available online, so do subscribe to our journal portal as well. With these few opening words, I now hand over the proceeding to Paras, President of Chamber of Tax.
Good afternoon. Before I say something, the persons who are sitting on the last, the few, many chairs are vacant. They can commit for further. Friends, I join Nitin Singhara and welcome you all to this joint program of BC and Chamber. This time the program has been curtailed to half day because of the time constraint for the organizations, otherwise this is a full day program. NGOs, as the Nitin said, that India has a rich tradition of philanthropic tradition, and hence it's inbuilt with the various religions. Whichever religion you may be following or whichever faith you may be following, in all faiths the charity is inbuilt. And if you see in the Mumbai or around Mumbai, you will find everywhere these charitable organizations are functioning, be it on the railway station, be it hospital, be it anywhere. Because you will find the benches on the railway station, pani parab, water at the fountains, anywhere. It's all being done by the NGOs. Though India is a socialist country, but still the work which the government is supposed to do or supposed to do is not been fulfilled or couldn't be done with the NGO raise the hand for that. The NGOs, but issues are also arising in the recent trend in last 4 to 5 years. The government what it says that money laundering, the NGOs are involved in money laundering, though they don't say directly, but indirectly say, and hence you find the many amendments. Income Tax Act, you find many amendments. In Maharashtra, some 5 or 6 years back, the Standing Committee report or Law Commission report was there, and in which the many of the provisions were such that the Maharashtra government wanted to take over the control of this charitable trust. And there are huge hue and cry, which I was also one of the at that point of involvement. Probably I remember Vipin Bhai also had something at that point of time. And then this report was made in cold storage. At center level, Government of India has introduced or they have set up a committee under chairmanship of Mr. Achyutan to revamp the law relating to trust in whole India. Because currently what is happening, barring couple of states, for charitable activity there is no specific act. It's Gujarat, Maharashtra and 1 or 2 other states are there. Otherwise everything is governed by the Trust Act, Indian Trust Act. So the provisions way should be governed or as the person moves from one state to another state, and the procedure and compliance changes, and this puts the pressure on the trust as well as on the professionals who are doing it. Because 215 amendment, which is there, the way it is been drafted, and amendment, though the objective of the amendment is different, and because they want to curb the activities like the business organizations who are doing in the gap of the trust. But they want to curb those things, but in that thing, the many other things are coming. But the amendment triggered from the one of the Pro-Trust Act, where the activity was a commercial in nature, and it was said this is charitable in nature. To curb this, the amendment came. And in the month of September, when we were with Shaktikanta Das and also the TRU, we were there for the purpose of a representation on the extension of tax audit report, because due date of return was extended and not on the tax audit report. We met Shaktikanta Das. At that point of time, we also represented on the trust act. We gave him some literature and said that the intention what is not coming out, and he took himself and also invited, asked the TRU, tax research unit, between among the civility, to look into it, and they said that we may come up with some of the amendment. Every one of the other amendment is coming, they try to ease out, but instead of easing out, the amendment goes against the SSC. For example, earlier it was that the charitable trust can register any point of time, and the commissioner who was registering, have a director general exemption, had a power to have retrospective, give registration of retrospective funds so that they can claim exemption under section 11 and 12. This power was withdrawn. Then, to overcome something, last year amendment has made, but again that mess has been done. We have the past Director General exemption from Mumbai. He has passed a couple of orders. The organizations which are not charitable in nature, those orders are upheld by the tribunal, I believe, and also in the High Court. Some sports organizations which were purely business organizations. With this, viewers, I once again welcome you all, and we have this learning session. We wish you all a very happy learning session. Though the timings are very odd, but the persons who want to learn, that is the zeal of everyone who are here. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this half-day workshop on this charitable trust. We are going in on the first session, and we have one eminent faculty with us. I have a pleasant task of introducing Shri Vipin Bhatavia to this august gathering. Vipin Bhai is a chartered accountant for 3 decades now. He has been practicing independently in the name of Vipin Bhattacharya and Company. He was ex-partner of Parik Joshi Kothare and Company. Practicing mainly in the area of direct tax, he has achieved expertise on the formation and taxation of charitable trust, including registration and all related areas in the field of charitable trust, NGOs, etc. He was the president of the Chamber of Tax Consultants in the year 2003-04. He was chairman of the various committees of Chamber of Tax Consultants and General Committee of the Chamber for 3 years. He is also actively involved with BCAS and also WIRC of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He has been involved with various trusts and associations in various capacities. He has delivered many lectures all across the country on the topic of charitable trust mainly and many other topics of direct taxes. And he has also written many articles in magazines of professional interest. With these very few words, I present before you Shri Vipin Bhattacharya, and I request you all to welcome him to the round of applause. Before I request Vipin Bhai to address, I would request Shri Vipin Bhai Jindala, President of BCAS, to kindly offer a memento to Vipin Bhai as a mark of our love and affection. I would request Vipin Bhai to please address.
Good afternoon, friends. President of BCS, Mr. Pradeep Singh Gala, President of Chamber of Tax Consultants, Mr. Manas Savala, Chairman of Direct Taxes Committee of Chamber, Mr. Ketan Lozani, Course Coordinator, Mr. Ashok Sharma, ex-Commissioners of Income Tax, Hasan Saab, Sinha Saab, and father of our ex-President Mr. Shah, Sridhar Shah's father, other seniors in the profession, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I thank both the organizations for considering me for this topic, which is very close to my heart, and giving me this opportunity to share with you my experience, knowledge on this subject. Friends, the topic of Maharashtra Public Trust Act is very vast. Like income tax in section 11, 12, 13, there are judgments on every section, subsection and provisions. You will see my material, it is fully of those judgments, and those are also I have taken just important ones. So there is a lot of litigation. Moreover, I don't know whether I will be able to give the justice to the topic today. Because of paucity of time, I had some other commitments. Not only that, I have prepared my topic for 1 hour, because the letter says 2 to 3, but I know organizations have to other obligations also, so it is now for 45 minutes. To cover a topic of so vast in the nature, it will be very difficult for me. I will be going like a Duranto, but stopping at important stations. And please, whoever else want to talk on telephone or mobile, please go out and talk. It may be important call for you, but it disturbs to everybody present here. I know you must have kept the phone in silence. Coming to the topic, friends, earlier this act was known as Bombay Public Trust Act, which is from August 2012. It is changed to Maharashtra Public Trust Act. It is applicable to the whole Maharashtra. Section 2 deals with the definitions. There are many definitions given in the Act. I will just explain very few because it will be important during my talk to understand that. Number 1 is 2.6 says, Hindu includes Jain, Buddhist and Sikh. Now please, I will be restricting myself to the Maharashtra Public Trust Act. There are many judgments which is applicable to Trust Act also on certain issues, but I am not covering those, even I am not mentioning that because Mr. Gautam is going to cover taxation of charitable trust. The other important definition is section 210, that is person having interest. That includes, in case of temple, person who is attending and the right to worship as a Hindu. In case of mosque, includes a person right to worship. But the important for, in case of society, any member of such society, and in case of other trust, trustees or beneficiaries. Because in the Act you will see many places, many complaints, many actions can be done only by the persons who are having interest. Otherwise they are not allowed. So it's very important to understand who are the person. The first question arises, the person is making complaint or application, whether he is interested or not. And the third is, that is 213, that is public trust. Public trust means, and it includes temple, mud, waqf, church, synagogue, agyari, other place of public religious worship, dharmada, or any other religious or charitable endowment or society. So even a mud, a temple, dharmada, religious places, these are constituted as a public charitable trust and registered accordingly. Now coming to the certain judgments on definition part. Section 2.2, it says, in the case of ACC versus power delegated to act as the Assistant Charity Commissioner, in the power which is given to the Charity Commissioner, it can be delegated to the JCC. Now JCC is Joint Commissioner, DYCC is Deputy Charity Commissioner, and ACC is Assistant Charity Commissioner. So I will be saying the derivative words only ACC or JCC. So JCC and ACC are authorized or they can delegate the authority to them. So once it is delegated, they act as a charity commissioner. Now de facto trustee can use the recovery of trust property. It is in the case of Shikshan Prakash Mandal, wherein the charitable trust, right of information, whether right to information is applicable to a charitable trust. So in the case of Shikshan Prakashak Mandal, it is said that Right to Information Act is applicable to charitable trust. Whether declaratory suit can be filed. In such a case, jurisdiction of civil court is ousted. Because there are certain cases where you go to the court, before that you have to take prior permission from the charity commissioner for going to file a suit. Then we will see later. There is a judgment which says it's a quasi-judicial functions. They are not a full-fledged court, and they are not a court within the definition of the Act. So they are quasi-judicial. Some of the judgment I will be escaping from the time and I have given. You can read it. Those are the very simple judgments. Now there is an important deed of trust vis-a-vis to deed of settlement. Because there is a confusion between whether it is a deed of settlement or deed of trust. So in the case of S.N. Mathur, Supreme Court says it is well settled that all the trusts are not settlements and all the settlements are not trust. But a deed of trust can also be a deed of settlement. So this Supreme Court has distinguished between the deed of trust and deed of settlement. In the case of Kachi Oswal Deravasi Jain Mahajan Trust, in this case it was held by the High Court that all the co-trustees must be joined in filing a suit unless instrument of trust otherwise provides. The basic principle you all must be aware that the trustees have to act according to the provision of the trustee. In many places you will see whether they are authorized by the trustee or not, what are the provisions of the trustee, what are the objects, how the trust will function, jurisdiction, areas. So, I humbly submit to the members present here, henceforth whatever trust deed you prepare, be careful of drafting that trust deed. Because the clauses of trust deed is so important, the future litigations can be avoided or at least it can be reduced. Not only that, recently, last 5 years I have seen registration of 12A is also become a tedious job. And it has, majority of the applications are rejected on the basis of certain clauses included in the trust deed and certain clauses not included in the trust deed. So please be careful while drafting the trust deed because it's a perpetual trust. For years, trustees, present settler, present trustees may not be there. So future, it will act only whatever written. Please be careful about that. In a case where Commissioner HRE in the Supreme Court has given the guidelines and explained the duties and powers of Mahant and Mathadipati. Because Math itself is also a public charitable trust. So it is a sole trustee trust. There can be a trust like Math where only sole trustee is there. So his powers and duties are then who will decide? So in this case, court has given in detail guidelines and directions how they will function and what are their duties and rights. Now having interest in trust, that is substantial or real interest. In the case of Gajanan Maman Mulek, that this definition of having interest in a trust, it is inclusive definition which includes beneficiaries. In the present case, the applicants were persons who were hostile with the object of destroy the trust. So if outside party comes forward and say we will do the management, that is not permitted. Once the trust is registered, trustees are decided, there is a set provision in the trust deed how the succession of the trustees will be done. Even in some cases, charity commissioner has no power. Even the courts have no power to change the trustee. Only in certain cases where the application is made by 2 or more persons, we will see later on that the trustees can be appointed or removed by the ACC, JCC or CC. In the case of Gajanan Maharaj Sansthan, Shegaon, property of the trust, the Tehsildar found that the trust is not paying the dues and they are in the area. So that Tehsildar passed an ex parte order and without permission from the office of the charity commissioner, he has transferred the property to others. So in this case, the petitioner was entitled to possession of land because that land, even though he was a Tehsildar, but it is beyond his jurisdiction to transfer the property. Now there are at least 40 to 50. I have come across the cases of Lilavati Hospital. In every section, there are many cases which are very important. Recently, in last, I think this is going on in last 7-8 years. And every day something or other hearings are going on still. Administration of a public trust, forgery, misappropriation of trust fund, non-registration of FIR. In this case, court says if such allegations are there, FIR can be filed against those trustees who are responsible for such acts. See, there are total 12 chapters. The whole act is divided between the 12 chapters. We are on chapter number 2. Chapter number 1 is for definitions. Chapter number 2 is for establishment. Now, establishment I will not go into detail because how the charity commissioner are appointed, how ACC, DCC, their staff and those are appointed. Only thing is there are certain judgments which can be used to the participants. Chapter 3 says charitable purposes and validity of certain public trusts. Like income tax section 215, there also section 9 provides what is charitable purpose under Maharashtra Public Trust Act. So do not mix with the charitable objects with 215. The charitable purpose includes relief of poverty or distress, education, medical relief, provision for facilities for recreation or other leisure time occupation, the advancement of any other object of general public utility. But this general public utility will not include, specifically excluded, that is religious teaching or worship. So if there is a religious teaching, then that is not a charitable object under Maharashtra Public Trust Act. More or less, the charitable purpose are like income tax. Those provisions are the same. Section 10, 11, 12, 13, I have just given the heading. The heading itself explains what is the provision. The trust not to be void on the ground of uncertainty. If there is uncertainty, but the trust will remain as a public trust. There can be other ways to solve that, but the trust will remain as a public charitable trust. Public trust not void on the ground of that non-charitable or non-religious purpose. If some of the clauses of a trust deed are charitable and if it is registered, and some of the clauses are non-charitable, or it may become non-charitable later on, in those cases, the trust will not lose its status of public trust. Public trust not void on the ground of absence of obligations. Public trust not void on failure of specific objects of society or ceasing to exist. If the object ceases to be in existence, then also it will not lose its character as a public trust. See, in the case of Chotalal and Shah versus Charity Commissioner, it is decided that trust created by settler providing fund for caste dinner. Because there are many problems we face in income tax also after class dinner and particular class are the member. It was held that it is a charitable trust. Court is competent to entertain application under this. In another case, where what is a public utility? To serve a charitable purpose, it is not necessary that the object should be beneficial to the whole of mankind. It is not necessary that the beneficiaries are whole of mankind. All persons in a particular country, state, it is sufficient if the intention of the benefit to a section of public as distinguished from specific individual. So in this case, it is being said that even it is for a particular subcaste, say Jain, further subcaste, or in Gujarati or in Marathi, Brahman or other caste, that is also public purposes and it is not for a specific individual. Because there may be changes in those who are getting that benefit. It can be restricted to them. In another case, political purpose is not a charitable purpose. That Bombay High Court is decided in Subhash Chandra Bose case, not that Subhash Chandra Bose case, some other Subhash Chandra Bose is there. That political purpose It's a purpose. Political purpose is not a charitable purpose. Then general public utility, one more important judgment is there. Object of general public utility is not restricted to objects beneficial to the whole mankind. The same is repetition in this case. And the same judgment is given by Supreme Court in the case of Andhra Chamber of Commerce. There is one more case I mentioned. The object is non-charitable. The trust would be valid as a public charitable trust. Now, registration of a public trust. This is the most important part. I will straight go to section 17. Books and indices and registers. Office of the Charity Commissioner is supposed to maintain certain books, records and registers. All entries are to be done in those books